It ain't easy being a man these days. Hard to even say for sure what a man is. A provider, a lover, maybe even a hero. One thing's for sure. A journey towards being whatever a real man should be doesn't need to be done alone. The Gentlementor are here to help you navigate that, so you never have to go alone.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Gentlementor. We're so glad that you've joined us today for another exciting episode of Change.
Ooh.
I thought I would change it up a little bit. So
Change it up, baby.
instead of being my bubbly self like I am all the time, I thought I would be more
Mr.
NPR.
Charisma.
I want to do NPR.
More NPR. Right on. Good times.
Good times. And now, sweaty balls. Anyway, so welcome. So glad.
That was an alternate title for the podcast.
Oh, okay, all right.
We wanted it to be manly.
Thanks for joining us here on the Gentlementor. We're just, hey, if this is your first time, welcome.
You're here in the middle.
You're here in the middle. We're talking about change, but you know what? It's a great place to start. We're glad that you're here anyway. And we hope that you, we hope you join us again. I was going to say we hope you like us, but I don't really care if you like us or not. We just want to be helpful. But the most important thing is we like you.
If you don't like us and you still keep coming back.
Yes, that's great. That's fantastic.
That just gives you an idea what a great podcast this is. Nobody listening likes this podcast. Everybody listening hates it.
They tolerate it, but they're like, I need to hear this. I need to hear this stuff. I need to hear it. So yeah, we're on the social media, and most importantly, we'd love for you to like us and follow us and stuff like that. But most importantly, more than that,
except on social media.
Yeah, except on social media. More importantly, we want to hear from you. So
yes.
Yeah, it's one thing just to watch and to push the heart button, but we'd love for you to chat back at us and say, hey, this is what I'm going through, or
yeah.
Hey, I tried that and it doesn't work. Or I tried this and it does work, and whatever. We'd like to hear that.
Questions, comments, criticisms, throw it down in the comments.
Yeah,
somewhere.
absolutely.
Instagram,
absolutely.
Here on the YouTube, on the, what are we at, the BitChute there?
Yep.
You're doing the TikToks. And
the TikToks.
Just everything.
We're just a group of guys that talk about stuff that guys have to go through. And right now we're talking about change. And we're building community. Building community. Intentional community through conversation. That's what it is.
Intentional change of your community through conversation.
And encourage and camaraderie. Can I use that word? That's fine. So last week,
and half pie drinks on Tuesday.
Oh, and free pie Wednesday at the village. Yeah. So last week we talked about, one of the things that we mentioned was you do the things you do because of what you think of you. And it's all kind of about self-image, or and I want to go self-image.
Self-image topic,
right?
Kind of you shift to a positive thought life. I think really would be even broader way to put it, because it's not just about you. Because what you really want to do is shift your entire perspective so that you begin to see all things positively instead of all things negatively. At least that's what I wanted for myself. That's how my journey in this to be. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, and what that means is you can look at yourself and go, I'm a negative person. I want to be a positive person. Well, you can want all you want. Doesn't going to change anything.
Got no plan.
You've got to decide for yourself. I'm going to be a positive person. Mark is going to be a positive person. And then you backtrack and realize, or you what's the word I'm looking for? You reverse engineer to the point where you say, okay, in order for me to be a positive person, I have to stop the negative input, because that's who I am. So once you decide who you're going to be, what you are. So then we talked about when you come into a place where you've got to make a decision about something. So you have to ask yourself 3 very important questions. And we got through the first one last week, and that is, what type of person am I? Who am I? I talked about, I'm going to be the guy who gets up when my alarm goes off, period.
That's the
guy I'm going to be, making the plan. But I reverse engineer that. Means I've got to go to bed at a decent time. I've got to get the sleep that I'm required.
How does that start?
Right. So that's how it starts. So here is the next question. We promised, if you're joining us again from last week, because we left you with the cliffhanger, here's our next question. You have to ask yourself.
We don't leave you hanging on that cliff.
when you're presented with a situation, you have to ask yourself, what kind of situation is this? Now, this is a question that I discovered. I didn't make this up myself. I discovered it. So it needs some hashing out. We need to figure this out.
I
Doug,
love hash.
can you
Corned
help
beef
me
hash,
figure
eggs. Love it.
can you help me? Well, never mind. Yeah, can you help me figure this out? What kind of situation is this?
Well, I think this would be a good place to kind of tag back to some of the stuff we've spoken about in previous weeks, because it's always good to refer back, and we'll just make this little reference here. If we come into a situation, and I strongly suspect that there is a, like I said, I mentioned a couple weeks ago, we get too Christian here.
Okay.
But I think there's a biblical standard for this kind of thing. And I think that one of the things that happens is we walk into a situation, and one of the positive negative ways that this can roll is that our emotions are overwhelmed.
Mm.
And our emotions being overwhelmed is a general thing, but what it will do is make us unable to analyze the situation correctly. It's like a fog. You heard of the fog of war? If you walk into a high stress situation where everything's frantically going on,
yep.
or you walk into some where there's some like big emotional type has just gone off in the room, it can overwhelm your ability to even be able to analyze. So the first thing you've got to do, again, this is reverse engineering. You can't wait until you walk into that room and then hope you can control your emotions.
Mm.
You've got to start living in a sort of, and you don't got to be scared and nervous and think everything's going to go wrong every time, but on some level you have to be internally prepared for the possibility that every time you walk into a situation, it might be that. You've got to be ready beforehand. You can't wait till game day to train.
That's right. Ooh, come on, somebody.
Same thing we keep saying. It applies in every circumstance. It says right there in Genesis, sin is crouching at the door. His desire is for you. You have to overcome him. He's warning you. It's a jump scare. He's going to jump out and try to get you to panic so you do something stupid.
Yep.
You know that, so you've got to reverse engineer back to don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything is usually the first best rule that you can start with.
Ooh, yes. And it goes back to what we were talking about.
If your emotions feel stirred, jangled in any way, not just negatives, try this on when you feel really happy and excited, like right after your income tax check comes.
Yeah.
And can I just keep it in your pants? Can I say keep it in your pants?
Please do.
The money.
Or in the bank. Yeah, I knew what you meant. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't
do anything.
Don't just give in to something that you feel because you feel it. Yep. Practice with little things.
Yep.
I used to do this to myself. I would walk around a store with my family, and when I would see something I would want, I would stop and look at it and really let myself want it and want it and want it hard, and then walk away from it. I would convince myself in certain occasions that I could get it. And my wife, in one occasion, it was like a really nice set of kitchen knives. And my wife's like, we can get those if you want them. And I'm like, no. It's
so
like,
what's your goal when you see the kitchen knives? What was your goal? To not want them? To control the want.
Let me, I have to be scriptural again. I'm so sorry. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not
want. Yes.
But so the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want doesn't mean God's going to give me everything that I want, does it?
Right.
Is that anyone's experience? No. Here's the truth. This is how I live my whole life. I want that thing. I can't have that thing. I'm miserable without that thing.
Right.
And all your time is spent trying to figure out how could I ever, and then feeling terrible because I could never.
But I think
here's
that
a shortcut.
And again, if we're going to get real pastoral here, I think that goes along the lines of Matthew 22. I think I'm right, where he talks about, the lilies of the field are dressed, the sparrows are fed, all that kind of stuff. God's not going to neglect you.
Difference between needs and wants.
Right.
This is like that, but this is different.
Right.
This is not about satisfying want. This is about learning to control want.
Yes.
To tell want no.
Yes. Ooh, I
All
like that.
you are is an appetite.
See,
You
that's
will
the
go away.
no. You have to decide what kind of person you are, right?
Yeah.
I'm a saver. Are you good? If you want to be a spender, fine, be a spender. Decide that, and then be that.
You're not going
If
to
you're going to
stand.
be,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
And
won't
if you've
stand
got,
face to face with that moment until it. No, it's
and yeah,
about reverse engineering, like you said, and being
if
prepared
you've,
when it comes.
yes,
And that's what I said. When I try to do big things like that, I try to think, what's a small scale version of that? What's a manageable thing? That was a manageable thing. Go in a store and
sleeping in,
want something.
not getting up when it's hitting the snooze button 6 times.
Yeah.
That's a small version of that.
And that's all it is learning.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with my mom the other day. But we were talking about this idea, and that's what I told her. I'm like, that was my misery in my younger life. Again, that the misery of I want that, I can't have it. And I finally got wise enough and old enough to go, you know what? If you just didn't want it, that's where the pain is. Pain always comes from one source in my estimation, and it is holding on to things you should not hold on to.
Unmet expectations.
You're hanging on to this thing that you want, and you can't have it, and it just, it's like an unending tear that never quite tears apart, a greenwood break that never breaks all the way. It's awful. So why not control? Why not master want? If the Bible says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want."
But let me give you some pushback.
That's as good a reason as any to give it a shot.
What if all I want, Doug, is peace in my family, in my household? What if all I want is for my wayward daughter to speak to me again?
If that's all you want, it's not all you want.
How do you mean it's not all I want?
That's not all you want. There's a lot more that goes into those things. You don't just, I want. What you want is to recoup the time that you lost. You want to recoup this thing with this daughter. I mean, you could tear it apart for years and years, and there's no reason to do that because this is a tight podcast.
Right.
There's no reason to belabor that point. But,
right, but there are the I don't want to discount that in the fact that they're.
I don't mean that you should never want anything. That's not what I'm
right,
saying. I'm
right.
saying
And
when those wants come into your life that cause
when they
pain,
control you, yes.
Control the want instead of trying to satisfy it.
Right.
Instead of feeding your weakness, master it.
Yes.
Embrace the discomfort instead of trying to embrace comfort you can't have. Which is worse discomfort. It's always worse than the actual discomfort.
It is. It is. It is.
So
so I'm reminded of some notes that my daughter gave me here from some things that she was. This is just great, and it kind of goes back to controlling the want, I guess, and the feelings, getting over the feelings, and controlling those, because we write. We mentioned this last week. We talked about it a lot. We write our own stories, and so here's the thing: we also create our own feelings based on the stories that we play out in our own minds. Here's a quote from something she wrote down. She said, "Trust is not about your own courage and trust." I'm back up. Trust is about your own courage and confidence, not someone else's integrity. There's a lot in that statement that we can unpack, but we don't have time for it. But that leads into
Well, I'm so glad you brought it up.
That leads into this fourth thing. I'm just reading her notes here that she gave me. It leads to this 4-step thing, okay? Because we talked about, what kind of situation are we in? When something happens, we have to step back. We have to ask ourselves, okay, who am I? What kind of person am I? What kind of situation is this? So here's this 4-step thing when something happens. Number 1, the event happens, okay? Something happens. And then what usually happens is we create our own story based on that event.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and I'll go back with an example after this, after I hit all these 3. And then we have number 3, we have a feeling, because the story that we create in our own mind makes us feel a certain way. And then we act upon those feelings, and that is the result.
For sure.
Yes. Yeah. And here's the thing.
This happened, so it affected me like this, therefore I feel this way, and now this. That is, again, that's a perfect analysis, man. That is so much misery right there.
It is. So here's the thing. And this is a simple thing. All right. So you walk into your workplace and you walk into the room, and as soon as you open the door, there's two people standing over on the far corner talking to each other. And they both, as soon as you open the door and walk in, they both look at you. And then they turn back
or laugh. Which
no,
one?
they look at no, I'm getting there. They look at you and then they turn back at each other and laugh. Okay. Immediately we write our own story.
Sure.
What am I wearing? Did I do something wrong? What's wrong with my hair? Did they hate me? So we've written a story all of a sudden. And then now we have a feeling. They don't like me. Well, I don't like them either. And so now we go around all day at the water cooler talking bad about them because we know because of the story we created in our head, they're talking bad about us. They're talking bad about me. And so I've created the feeling. And so I've created this result. Now I've got all this other stuff that's just, it's a mess. I've created drama. When really what has happened, probably more than likely, because we talked about last week when you said, what are other people thinking about me? When the truth is they're probably not. And the fact is they're sitting there talking to each other, having a conversation. They just told, one of them just delivered a punchline to a joke the moment you walked in. And because of our human nature, fight or flight, we glance over for safety. And that's why they looked at you and saw that it was you and felt
completely
safe.
Innocent.
Completely innocent. They felt safe because it was you. They knew you. You worked there. They were completely safe. Their minds went back to the joke and laughed at the punchline together.
Yep.
And we create our own drama because of that. So anyway, those are the four things we have to think about. And I think it all comes down to number two, thinking about what that story is going to be. What kind of story you're going to create. And I think that goes back to based on what kind of situation is this and what kind of person am I?
I think it actually goes back a little further. I'd like to
Okay.
offer, and at least I'll offer an additional thought.
Let's have it.
And it's not even new. It's something we've talked about before. And I've talked to you about like having this ability, like something goes wrong, that situation,
Yep.
and that thing comes at me and I can kind of grab it
Yes.
and look it over. Okay. In your example, that's what I used to do. Internalize it. Immediately gulp it down, swallow it and take it in.
Yep.
If this is an experience you have and you don't want to have it, here's how to counteract it. You have to quit internalizing that stuff. You have to analyze it from the external where your emotions are not involved. Treat it like a science project, like you just picked up a weird thing off the beach and you're trying to figure out what
There's a concept. Yeah. Treat it like a science project.
it is. That's how I look at it. I call it putting on my clinical glasses. I'm going to get clinical about this. I'm going to study this. I'm not taking this.
I need a lab coat.
I don't know what it is. I picked this up off the ground. Who knows what's in this thing? It's not going in my mouth.
Don't put it in your mouth.
No.
A guy I used to work for was a great leader, and he taught me this one very important thing, and I may have said this before. Always fill in the gaps with trust.
You did say it before, and you didn't credit to anyone. You shouldn't have done that. See,
Oh, well.
You want to do it again? Here's a great thing I thought of.
All right. Here's a great thing that I thought of once. Always fill in the gaps with trust. Anytime there's a gap.
Hey, Mark, let me ask you a question. When you encounter gaps, what do you do with those?
I jump over them. and so
don't step on it.
So you're talking about a negative situation that happens to you. And I get that. If you get a car accident, that's not a positive, that's not a neutral thing. Okay. Right. Now, in my little scenario, when you walk into the office and there's two people and they turn and glance at you and laugh, that's neutral. You don't know where that lies. And more than likely, it doesn't lie on the negative side. It lies on the positive side. And so that's where, like you said, we need to control things. And that's where we need to fill in the gaps with, it must have been a good joke. And maybe I should go ask him what it was. Yeah.
Tiny percentage.
I'll walk over there and, hey, guys, what was so funny? Did I miss out? I came in 2 minutes late. What was so funny? Oh, Fred just told me this joke about this guy. Whatever.
Maybe you can hear the joke, too.
Yeah, you can hear the joke, too.
A tiny percentages of those dramas in life are necessary. Like you said, the car wreck,
very
the
tiny,
trip to the emergency room. Most of them we choose.
Right.
We enter into. We
exactly.
Go, ooh, I'm going to go step in that.
Yeah.
And then you spend the rest of the day trying to clean it off your shoe, bitching to everybody about it.
Right.
Why'd you step in it?
Right. I was talking to this guy today, and I brought him up before, not saying his name because I love him, I'm trying to help him.
The nameless person.
The nameless person.
Shall
And he was like,
nameless.
and he was talking about, I had a phone call with him and he was like, my ex-wife, she did this and trashed me and did all this stuff and I'm trying to overcome this stuff. I'm like, look, I know you got child support to pay because they've got a daughter together. I said, you can't get past that. I said, but you're letting the rest of the stuff control you. You're letting all the stuff, all the choices that she made on her own outside of your marriage dictate who you are today. And you can't do that. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, but you don't know what I've gone through. No, I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
I get it.
Material.
It doesn't matter. It's where you're going.
What are you going to do today? You write the book.
You get to decide.
You choose who you're going to be. She doesn't get to choose unless you allow it.
Yeah.
Here's something I told my nephew about his situation. So the very people you are trying to contend with, their estimations of you, you're going to prove right. If you continue the way you continue. Mm-hmm. You're operating out of spite toward them instead of for your own good.
Yep.
Do it for your own good. This is back to point A. What's your reason to change? It better be you.
We always laugh at the horror film actors who always go up the stairs because they hear the noise, or down the stairs. What's that noise? What's that noise? Yeah.
We're outside.
And it's like, yeah, and don't do it. What was that? And then my biggest one is like when they always yell, "Who's there?" Who does that? Nobody does that.
Serial killer.
Yeah. In my house, if I hear a noise in my house, it sounds like someone wrestling around, or someone moving around or shutting a door. Immediately, I'm thinking it's somebody that lives in my house because there are other people that live in my house.
Yeah.
I don't immediately go, someone's broken in. We're being bombarded.
It's probably because you don't hear that music.
That's why.
And the horror movie, the creepy music, and the
yeah.
What is
that? Here's the real problem is that we've done it again. We did not get through both questions, and we're already out of time.
How is that possible?
So now we gotta save this third question for our next episode. Anyway, we're
enjoy a horror movie of your choice.
Enjoy, especially a really bad one. We're so great. Oh, they're all really bad, aren't they? We're so glad that you joined us this week on the Gentlementor. You can find us again here, wherever you found us now. We're going to be here again next week.
Hopefully.
More than likely.
We'll make it to the third question. We won't have to break off
and
episode.
We promise next week we're going to hit this third question.
3B.
So hit us up on the social. We want to hear your voice. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your questions, your concerns, your comments,
what do you want to change?
Your feedback. What is it that you want to change in your life?
Who you going to be?
Let us encourage you. Let others encourage you, because that's what we're here. We're not here to knock you down. We're here to lift you up. Support you.
Right on.
Peace out, everyone.